It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Good morning, everyone. This is Gary K. and
Steph Beckett, and it's rAVe TV that happens every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, we do it at 9 a.m. so that our friends in Europe and Middle East and Africa can see us live while they're still in the office. We took a trip to Europe about a year ago, Steph, and we got a lot of feedback from our integrators over there and our readers and watchers over there. They'd love for us to switch the time, so we switched it to 9 a.m. So we're on live in Europe at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. in Middle East and 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. And so the people in California, they're still sleeping, but we restream this every Wednesday at noon. It's not a live show. It's restreamed. This is the industry's only live weekly TV show. And I'm really proud to do this with you, Steph. I don't know. What episode is this, Steph? You know, right? Don't you keep up with that?
I can't. Yes. Not off the top of my head, but I do.
We should look that up, see what episode this is. I don't know.
206.
206. So we've been doing this, 3 years? Almost 4 years, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Come a long way in 4 years.
A long time.
And both you and I have been traveling this week. I'm here. This is actually a real background. And I'm here in Florida for a meeting. And Steph, you were at the E4 yesterday, which is the Exertis Alamo regional show. That's the first E4 I did not go to in 13 years. Can you believe that?
I cannot believe. Well, I can believe that because I think a lot of people were like, not a lot, but like some people would come up to me and be like, "Where's Gary?" And I'd be like, I was like, "Sorry."
I got a lot of text messages yesterday. Where are you?
It's me now.
I know there were people at Exertis that texted me like, "Where are you?"
Yes,
it was kind of funny. They didn't know I was not going to be there, but anyway, I heard I have a bone to pick with you, Steph.
Oh God, okay.
Because by the way, you did a phenomenal presentation. I talked to two people that were in your presentation. They loved your presentation. Thought you did a great job. However, I heard about the ending. I heard what you said at the end of the presentation. It got back to me. So just for those of you who don't know, Steph does a 1-hour presentation, CTS credits. I'll let her tell you what the subject does, but it was awesome. And at the end of it, she said, she puts up a code and says, fill out this evaluation. If you didn't like it, my name is Gary K. If you did like it, my name is Steph Beckett.
Yeah, I said Exertis Alamo was going to send you guys a survey later. So just remember, if you hated this presentation and you want to complain to Exertis Alamo, my name is Gary K.
Yeah, I heard that. That got back to me yesterday, like right after you did. Within 5 minutes of you doing, I got a text message from somebody who was in the room.
Who tattletaled on me?
I have friends. I'm old, Steph. I've had friends in the industry for a while, so you can't get away with stuff like that.
It was a big hit. I got some laughs out of that.
I'll bet.
You know me. I have to make them laugh to feel like I'm doing a good job in my presentation.
Well, you did a phenomenal job, Steph. And also, Steph, you led the tour of the show floor, which is something I've been doing for like 10 years there.
Yeah.
What was that like? Were you calm and collected, or was it kind of rattling because there's all those people walking around at the same time?
I was so scared because I've done a lot of show floor tours for rAVe TV and such.
Yeah.
But it's like there are people following me. They're like kind of relying on me to say the right thing in that moment. Yeah. And so I was so nervous, but it was actually fine. 8 people came, I think, which was, that was fine with me. I think I would have been happy if like anyone showed up. So it was really, really good. It was really busy, really loud.
Well, 8 people is probably 10% of the attendance, approximately at that moment in time, because it's early in the morning. So that's pretty good. So that's pretty good. But
it was good.
Were there any of the booths that stumped you, or did you already have a plan of where you were going to go?
I had a plan. I walked the show floor during setup, and I looked at everyone's products and noted them and made sure I had stuff to say about all of them. There were only a couple of booths though that like stopped me while I was doing the tour and they're like, "Hey, we want to talk." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine, sure."
Yeah.
So we
That
had
happens.
a few extras. But I think it was really good. And someone came up to me afterwards and was like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm new to the pro AV industry. So I don't know who half of these brands are." And he was like, "So it was really helpful for you to like walk me through and just tell me what each company does even." He was like, "That was really, really awesome. Thank you." Which was
Yeah, it's
nice.
funny. We're so in it. We just make an assumption people know what DV-LED means when you say there's
Yeah.
an all-in-one DV-LED. Did Sam's or did LG have their 120-inch or 105-inch? Sorry, the 21 by 9.
Yeah.
They did.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a very
Well,
impressive display.
oh wait, I don't know if they brought the 21 by 9. They brought another something else.
Probably
I didn't
the interactive board if they didn't bring the 21 by 9 because they've been
I
focusing on that 21 by 9 now for a while, which is by
yeah.
the way, speaking of 21 by 9, what a better segue. There's no better segue. We have a guest coming on later,
Oh yeah.
David Danto, who you all know. Dave has been in the
Mhm.
industry like at least 5 years. So he knows a lot about UC. And he is actually, I would consider him the foremost expert on UC technology. Seriously. I mean, he's had a huge impact on that segment of the market. I wouldn't even doubt if he didn't coin that phrase first, something we could talk to him
Probably.
about. But I think it'd be great to hear from him. And he's going to be at Enterprise Connect along with you and Tim Albright. As you all know, we now have a partnership with AV Nation, and we do a lot of shows together. Look at that bird. See, proves my background's real. We do a lot of shows together, and Steph and Tim Albright will be at Enterprise Connect. But in the meantime, speaking of UC, one of the UC industry's pioneers, unfortunately passed away last weekend, and somebody who I knew very closely, and I'm sure David Danto knew him as well, Scott Scher. Scott was he was a consummate professional when it comes to training. He was the best trainer our industry's probably had. He was obsessed. He would stay awake we did the Institute for Professional Development together for about 10 years, traveled all over the world, did it in Australia, did it in Canada, did it in Europe, did it in the United States, in a bunch of different locations, like I said, for 10 years. And he would stay awake all night long, making sure everything worked. And he had the hardest job, Steph, because he was teaching video conferencing technology 20 years ago. And if you know what video conferencing was like 20 years ago, it was the biggest irony of all. And here's it comes down to this for those people that knew that industry 20 years ago. AT&T and the phone companies, I should say, but AT&T primarily invented or created ISDN lines for video conferencing, right, which was like bonded lines. But they could never get them to work. In other words, you'd order them from the phone companies, but they could never get it to act. The phone companies couldn't actually get it to work. So the problem was companies like PictureTel and Polycom, and well, even Polycom's a little bit later, but Cisco, when they came in the market, and Telepresence Technologies, they couldn't get their stuff to work, and it wasn't their fault. It was the phone company's fault. So our industry sort of like video conferencing was problematic in our industry, say the first 10 years because of that. That's something Dave, I'm sure, could talk about. Scott knew how to communicate with these phone companies and knew how to communicate with these telecom companies. He knew how to make it work. He had this sort of he actually educated. I remember him one time schooling someone from Southern Bell at the time, which was the Southeast regional phone company that was, without getting into details, they split up AT&T and then they allowed them to join back together. But at the time, there was a phone company called Southern Bell, and he was schooling the guy. And I remember Jim Smith, who was always with Scott, who was from Polycom at the time, just in awe at how Scott was teaching the telecom guy how to connect up an ISDN line. But he would stay awake all night long and make sure it worked. And he was the first that I knew of. Now, there may be others. The first that I knew of who was teaching video conferencing, to anyone in our industry. I mean, this was, like I said, 20, 25 years ago. So he passed away, and I'm really, he was just a great guy. He ended up doing a lot of other things that people don't know. You should read his. I hope you go to our site and read the story at ravepubs.com, because he never had met anyone he did not form a friendship with. So my heart goes out to his family, specifically Sandy Scherer, who's his wife. He's just a great guy. They were a great couple together, and he never flew to an Infocom, Steph. He always drove. He was one of those people that just liked to bring a whole bunch of stuff with him.
I've heard that about him.
He would pull a trailer on the back of his car, and he would drive in and do the show.
Because he was like, he just didn't like planes like that, right? Because he would say they were like, just.
I don't know if that was it, or if he just wanted to. He liked to drive in with all of his gear, because he brought a ton of gear, and he lived in Tybee Island, Georgia. Which, by the way, if you're reading Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Steph,
I am reading that right now.
Yeah, that happens in Tybee Island, Georgia, where he's from. Where he was from. So,
right outside of Savannah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wrote a little story about him. Actually, I should say Steve Thorburn wrote a story about him, and Steve and he were probably the closest in the industry. So go check that out. And so RIP Scott, thanks for all that you did. You'll be remembered in this industry, and it's the reason why we're able to do stuff like this, Steph, is from people like Scott. Speaking of which, I want to thank Shure for being a sponsor of rAVe TV. And we have this spot. This is the first spot on their new series of loudspeakers. Shure, solidly got in the loudspeaker market at ISE, a new product launch for them with 5 new models. Check this out from Shure and the Microflex loudspeakers for conferencing line. That's going to be a popular line of speakers. Obviously, they already have the in, right? Because people are buying their microphones and they're buying their technology for UC, for conference rooms specifically, meeting rooms, and so they'll do well with the speaker line. And seems like the whole beginning of the show has been all about video conferencing and UC technology. So what better time to bring on our guest, David Danto? What do you think, Steph? Should we bring him on?
Let's do it. Let's bring him on. Hi, David. How's it going?
Good morning, Steph. Good morning, Gary. Nice to be with you guys today.
Good to be with you. I love your fake background.
No, my background's real. You can tell when the Pac-Man goes by. This is it goes back decades when there weren't a lot of places in video conferencing to call. So I always had an auto answer device at my desk with a kinetic background. We have the plasma light and everything else back there, the cool clock, and it became a trademark. So I leave it sloppy, and it's me.
Yeah, amazing. That's great. No, I like it. During the pandemic, it was cool because you got to see everyone's home office and sort of their personality a little bit, which I thought was kind of cool. But you've been doing that since way before that. So you wrote an article that we asked. First off, we asked you to write for us, and we've been blessed with your talents writing for us. And you can go and go to raypubs.com and click on his name on any of the articles he's done, or go search for him on our website, and all of his articles come up. But his most recent one we published at the end of February. It's called I'll Have What She's Having, which is AV and building management may finally click. David, tell us a little bit about it and sort of what inspired you. I'm guessing the acquisition, Acuity Brands acquisition of QSC may have sparked some of this, or what do you think?
Well, that's part of it, but we're at an interesting point. The one thing that you and I have in common, Gary, is we tend to look at the industry from a 30,000-foot view and realize that things are coming together probably before a lot of other people do. And this was one that AV and building management, we've been talking about smart buildings in the industry for I don't know, 10 years, 20 years, and it really hasn't come together because the only thing that we were able to really do was look at stuff in retrospect. So we'd have a report and see this room was underutilized, this room was overutilized, this worked, this didn't work, and that's good for diagnosing, but it really couldn't act on it. So there wasn't a lot of activity that you could put together based on that. But now with the convergence of AI and some of these building management systems, now what we have is actionable data that it would be dumb for these systems not to come together and deal with. Great example. You've got in a conference room, maybe the schedule calls for it to be booked all day. So you've got the lights on, you've got the air conditioning on, you got everything ready, but nobody shows up. Why should you be spending that money cooling that room, keeping the lights on, if you've already got a sensor in there that tells you there's nobody there? And by the way, that sensor doesn't have to be an old style sensor anymore. It could just be the camera on a video conferencing device, which is now a people counter even when you're not there. And then you've got companies like Logitech that just came out with their Spot. Again, you talked about QSC, but there are other, Cisco with their Spaces, Microsoft introduced Places, Zoom has workspace reservation. These are really powerful systems that can do some AI predictiveness. So these things coming together is more about, I can actually act on this in real time and save money and maybe even pay for these systems.
Yeah. So I want to ask, because you use When Harry Met Sally as an analogy for AV and building management, which is kind of where the title comes from. So why did that comparison come to mind when you were talking about these two industries, and what makes right now the moment for them to finally become friends and get together?
Well, I'm a big believer in adding in my writing, and you have pointed out, you got a bunch of articles from you, adding in pop culture and adding in snark and adding in references that people get and appreciate. I don't think there's anybody in the world that hasn't seen When Harry Met Sally. And when you talk about it, it's a great example of the timing needs to be right. I mean, my wife and I, we just celebrated our 33rd wedding anniversary. We're very happily married. If we had met 10 years prior than when we did, we probably wouldn't have gotten along. The timing in the world needs to be right. So you could speak to a number of experts in our industry, like QSC's CTO Chris Janes, a brilliant guy. It came from Mercer. He talks about how building management and AV and smart buildings was a failure. And he's not wrong. It was a failure. 10 years ago, we were talking about, let's get involved in this. Say what you want to say about our industry and our industry association, and I won't go down that road, but we don't do a really good job talking outside of the industry to real estate and to architects and to building management people. So we never made it important to them. But now, like I said, Cisco and Microsoft and QSC and Logitech and Zoom are making it important. So it's that timing thing again, where the first date didn't work and the second date didn't work, but now you'd be dumb not to put these systems together and get some positive out of it.
Well, actually, it's a good analogy for what I talked about with Scott Scherer, because back in the early days of video conferencing, our industry was getting blamed for the troubling performance, I guess probably be the best to say, of video conferencing, but it wasn't our fault. It was the telecom industry's fault, and we just couldn't get it all to work together. You talked about, you specifically mentioned Logitech Spot, by the way, and it won an award, a Best of Show award from us from ISE. It actually, it's the first time we ever gave a product that was only $200, the Best of the Show award. And you talked about QED's acquisition and QSC, signs of convergence. So who are some of the other companies? I feel like there's some other companies we should watch. Obviously, Crestron, because they've been in building management for smart buildings. They've been talking about smart buildings. They put out a white paper years ago about that. Who else should we be paying attention to out there?
Well, for larger organizations, the Cisco Spaces is a program that lets you look in real time what's going on. And they've already got a tie in, with Meraki, with Thousand Eyes, with a lot of other sensors in the building that will let you adjust the HVAC. They're not doing anything with lighting yet. They're not doing anything with shades yet. But, these products are developing. Microsoft just put GA at their last trade show, Microsoft Cisco Spaces, Microsoft Places. I always get them confused. Microsoft Places is going to give you that real-time capability where you're going to be able to say, hey, what day next week should I come into the office? Where are my colleagues? What rooms are available? Zoom is doing that right now with workplace reservation. When you have these big players And, it established that there are dozens of companies that have been doing room reservations in our industry. And I don't need to go down the list with you, but, you have some powerful ones like AppSpace that tie things together. And then you've got Cisco and Microsoft and Zoom starting to play in the space. And you've got Logitech building gear. And again, QSC and Acuity. And it's like, wait a minute, this train's already left the station. And if you're not on it, you've missed it. So I can't tell you what the next change is going to be, but I know these are big names and big players that are getting involved in this combination.
So I think the biggest question that people who are watching this might have is, a lot of the people who watch this are integrators. How do they start having conversations about AV and building management integration with their clients? Like, how much convincing do you think this will take?
Well, I used to have this conversation about integrators for a while where, an integrator would go in and say, hey, look at this bright new toy. Would you like to buy 30 of them? And the client would say, well, I'll put you in next year's budget and maybe I will, maybe I won't. But if you walked in and said, I'm going to secure your systems from hackers, they'd find the money. I think this is another case where the AV integrator can walk in and say, you know what, I want to put the system in for you, but it's not going to cost you anything. It's actually going to save you money. I'm going to turn off the heating and the lights in the rooms that you don't have people in. And that's going to more than pay for what I'm talking about putting in to your floor, to your building, to your campus, whatever it is. It's a different conversation. Obviously, you have to have the chops to be able to talk Microsoft and talk Cisco and a relationship with Zoom and some of these other players and, talk with what Crestron and what QSys are doing. But I think it's an easy message to get across because you're selling them something that's going to save them money in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. We at the University of North Carolina, not all the rooms are this way, but we have the ability. We have control systems in all the rooms. Campus-wide, we're Extron, but we have a control system in every room. We know based on the schedule when the rooms are going to be used, and I imagine that saves a lot of money. To not, it's a little easier for a university because we know that on Tuesday and Thursday, these classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, these classes in a less linear environment, it's probably more difficult. And these sensors make a big difference. That's why I believe that the Logitech Spot is going to be a big winner. And I think that'll get copied. So if you had a vision for where you think this will play out in the next 5 years, say 5 years from today, and we have you on the show, where are we going to be?
Well, I think that, again, it's the convergence of these sensors, which are not necessarily sensors. They could be the video devices, the convergence of these systems that already run the building managements, the shades, the lights, the things like that, and AI, where it's now going to not ask you if it wants you to do something. It's just going to do it. So your example in the classroom where, you've got a class book Tuesday and Thursday, but for some reason the system doesn't know that this Thursday is a field trip day or a bank holiday and nobody's going to be there. The rooms will detect, there's nobody in the room. Let me shut the darn lights off. And I think that's going to be an amazing cost savings. So it's good for the environment, whether you're into or not into environmental savings. It's good for the bottom line. You're not spending the electricity. And it's these systems that are smarter that'll manage it. And in some cases, you're going to get critical systems. Like I'm storing medicines here. And if XYZ drops below a certain temperature, turn on the backup air conditioner. Or all of these things where AI is going to be, intelligent enough and smart enough. We're over focused right now in our industry on meeting summaries and voice recognition, and all that's cool and great. But you know what? That's nothing. It's the next generation of AI where it's really practical. Like another one of your award winners at ISE. The idea that we can now do room checks and building management. Room management using AI systems where we don't need to be involved. That's when it's going to be really smart. And that's what I expect to see in 5 years.
That's a good point. Well, last question we have for you, David, is where can people connect with you? Where can people reach out if they want to chat?
There are two David Dantos in the world. One is a distant cousin, lives in Canada, does psychology. I'm the other one. You can just Google my name, David Danto, anywhere. You can go to the talkingpointswithaz.com website, which is what I do for a living right now. You can always find me on LinkedIn. I love to chat with people in the industry. Anybody can always reach out.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate
your writing you do for us, especially, and you should definitely go check out everything that David's writing for us, and we appreciate it. I think he's sharing this episode on his LinkedIn page as well, which is kind of fun too. So David, thanks. I hope you'll come back and join us in a couple of months so that we can talk about InfoComm, because I know that's going to be a big deal, and I want to get your review of Enterprise Connect. You'll be there as well. So yeah, thank you. Want to tell you about, obviously, speaking of Enterprise Connect, Aver is going to be at Enterprise Connect in booth 826. And they're going to be focused on their new PTZ camera specifically for collaboration, which is what Enterprise Connect is all about. But also they're going to give, if you're going to Enterprise Connect, Aver's going to do some pretty cool giveaways. They're going to kind of gamify their booth this year, Steph. So you definitely need to go by and try to win me something.
Oh yeah, I will. I will definitely go by. I love going in and spending time with them at Enterprise Connect. So yeah, I will be there. So I can't wait. If any of you are going to be there, feel free to reach out to me.
And definitely stop Steph as she walks by. Yeah. By the way, yesterday I posted a story about Joe Pham retiring. He made it official on his LinkedIn page on Saturday. He's leaving the industry to go hang out and I don't know what he's going to do, go to the beach, whatever. But congratulations to him. He was there 21 years. I mean, he's been in the industry 21 years, done some amazing stuff. And Jayden Shaw, who's actually been running the company for a while, he actually took over as the president of QSC. And if you remember, QSC, as David mentioned, has been acquired by Acuity Brands, which also owns Lumineer and a bunch of smart home stuff. That story is on our website. Steph, I noticed that his name was spelled wrong in the headline. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, I did notice that. Let me fix that.
Yeah,
I don't know why that did that.
AH instead of W, but we'll fix that real quick. But in any case, everyone knows who he is. He's been in the industry for a while.
It's fixed now.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But in any case, that story is on our website now, and a lot of the stuff. In fact, you can always scan that QR code there. I wanted to also talk about this other story, Steph. Then you can do the next one. Extron introduced a really cool switcher yesterday. They call it the UCS SW313, and it's a multi-input. I should say multi-port. It has 8 ports, but it has 3 inputs. So you can do 3 HDMI or USB inputs, but it has 5 other USB ports specifically for collaboration. So that product is now shipping already, and they just launched it. So I thought that was neat because they really haven't been solidly in the UC market. Seems like this episode's all about UC until
it is. I mean, it's that time of year,
Yeah, and in fact, Crestron's product that we're going to highlight coming up here, I know we got the PowerSoft story, is going to be the Video Bar 70, which is I don't know, that might be the best video bar out there right now. It's going to be tough. I think the industry has got some big competition with that product, and their purchase of One Beyond was a big deal. So Steph, you want to talk about PowerSoft?
Yeah, sure. So PowerSoft and Cohesion, 2 companies, obviously, but they're partnering for channel access and this new amplification platform that's aimed at actually live events and installation. So, a non-UC story here, but I think both companies are hoping that this partnership is going to kind of shape the future of live event production. So basically, I think that what PowerSoft is going to do is be the key technology partner for Cohesion, and they're going to provide amplification processing platforms for them. So I think that this is going to deliver some really great performance, efficiency, reliability for those live event applications. So yeah, I think that is definitely going to be interesting. So check out the full story. It's on ravepubs.com.
And of course, as I mentioned, the Video Bar 70 from Crestron. Check this out and tell me if you disagree with me, if you don't think this is the best video bar on the market right now. All right, so Broad Sign and Scope 3 have partnered to deliver accuracy, accurate details for advertisers on the carbon impact of digital out-of-home campaigns, which is a big deal because there's a big movement in the advertising industry to get rid of waste and actually participate more actively in the in sort of like saving the environment kind of stuff. And part of that is the devolution, I guess you'd say, of print. And as we move to more digital kind of stuff, especially outdoor billboards going digital, we don't have to deal with gluing that plastic up to billboards anymore.
Yep. This
matters, so advertisers can brag about those stats. So Broadsign's been a big leader in the digital out of home. So this is a good thing if you're into digital signage.
Nice. Last product piece of news here is a new product from Extron, the NetPA 204 PoE. This is a very, very small plenum rated Dante enabled 4-channel amp, and it's 20 watts per channel. So check that out. Full story is at raveclubs.com.
All right. By the way, we talked about Enterprise Connect a lot today.
Yeah.
We talked about Enterprise Connect a lot today. And we actually have a code, RAVE25. If you use RAVE25, you get a free expo pass. You can get in the expo free, but you also get $200 off the conference, any conference pass that you buy. So if you want to go to any of the classes, it's $200 off, which basically gives you like half price. So RAVE25, RAVE25 is the code to use. Steph's going to be there. David Danto is going to be there. Tim Albright's going to be there. We're going to cover Enterprise Connect in detail, probably better than we ever have. So that's the next big show coming up for us, which is coming up here in a week or so.
I'm really excited. So continuing on, we have a few launch events coming up on our launch platform. So first of all, we've talked a little bit about it, but we changed the date. So Shore's part 1 of simplifying networked AV, deploying and managing PoE Plus devices. This is going to be today at 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you're looking to streamline your AV deployments, power over Ethernet Plus, this is obviously a game changer. Simplifying power data delivery over a single cable. If you want to check out, learn more about key considerations with this, they're going to dive into that. So please come. You will enjoy it.
And it's all about the Microflex conference products as well. And sort of, it's really aimed at end user stuff. So if you're an end user in the industry and you watch our show, this is a great sort of launching point for you to get a better understanding of what they're doing there. And you can always scan that QR code or go to launch.com, lavnch.com to sign up. And of course, we have a launch and learn with Walmart a week from today. Is that a week? No, almost a week. So it's the March 17th at 2 p.m. It's going to talk about, all their flush mounting products, which make control systems, for example, much more elegant in an integration, both in commercial and in residential. Walmart's a very unique company, and they have some really cool products. We're going to cover all those products for them on this specific launch and learn. And remember, these launch and learns. Once you sign up for one, you have access to the archive of all the ones we've ever done. So once you sign up for a launch account at lavnch.com, you get access to everything we do. So you can always go back and watch those on our archive stuff.
Oh, and I lied about what time the Shore one is today. It's at 2. I said 1. So 2 Eastern, if you want to join that Shore PoE Plus Microflex event, it is 2.
Isn't that actually hosted by Tim Albright? I feel like it is.
Yes, because it's not me, and it's not you.
Not me. I think it's Steph. There you go. All right. Well, Steph, I appreciate you doing this with me today. And I guess you'll be at Enterprise Connect when we do our next episode, right?
Yep, I sure will. All right. I will, or I might be back by then, but we'll see. I actually don't remember when my flight is. I should figure that out. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV.